Hi everyone, let me sit down very, very carefully. Today I'm going to do my very long-awaited If I Could Only Keep 10 palette tag. I had planned on doing this several months ago before I fell and broke my legs, but that's all I'm going to complain about that. And since then, a couple of my palettes have changed because I've got some new palettes and I reevaluated what I would need in palettes that I wanted to keep if I could only curate 10 palettes in my collection. So these are the 10 palettes that I've decided that I would keep if I could only keep 10. If somehow somebody come in and said, okay, we're going to take all your makeup, the house burned down and I can only grab, 10 palettes, if just whatever the scenario is, you can only keep 10. These are the 10 that I have decided to keep. So, they're in no particular order because gosh knows I would not want to have to go from 10 to 1 and pick which one goes here, and oh my gosh, that would be a whole different category and a whole different ball game. And these are not necessarily my favorite palettes. These are what would work into my lifestyle. Now, I am more of a neutral girl. I wear basically browns and greens most of the time. I don't do big bright eyes very, very seldom. I've been trying to get out of my comfort zone and do them, but more often than not, I choose to go more subtle with greens and browns, because I feel like green is a neutral, especially since I've got green hazel eyes. So these are the 10 palettes that I would keep in my palette collection, and some of these palettes are no longer available. So, and that didn't play into it, it's just they're no longer available and you wouldn't be able to get them, but these are the 10 that I have in my collection. And I have a collection of about 180 palettes, so it was really, really hard to narrow it down to 10 palettes. Whew. Anyway, hello Miss Bells. Are you coming up? Are you coming up? You've already had treats. You've already had treats. Are you coming up? If you're coming up, you better come up. If you're coming up, you better come up. Come on. Come on. Okay. My first palette is by Marc Jacobs. And every time I wear this palette, here she is. Here is a gorgeous, gorgeous Miss Bella. And everybody who's been on my channel for any amount of time knows Miss Bella. They know that she loves to get her camera time in, and she's Mommy's baby. She's Mommy's baby, yeah. And Bella always says if you've not already subscribed to our channel, hit the subscribe button. Be sure to hit the notification bell so you get notified every time we upload a video. Yeah, so yeah, so yeah. And let me get baby some treats and get her down. Yeah, let me get baby some treats and get her down. That's my fuzzy black microphone. Aww. But anyway, that's mine and Bella's little routine. Now I got Bella hair up the nose. But anyway, my first palette would be the Marc Jacobs palette. And if my phone rings, it's probably more political phone calls. I've had a dozen of those today. This is the Lolita palette, and every time I wear this palette, I get so many compliments. This is such a beautiful, beautiful browns palette. I just love it. The shades in here are just matched beautifully. There's only one dark brown shade, but every time I wear this, I get compliment after compliment after compliment, so I feel like this is the brown palette that I would need to keep because this is the one that seems to really work for me. So, the Lolita by Marc Jacobs would be palette number 1. And don't you just love that packaging? So sleek, so cool. Love that. So number 1. Number 2 would be the Too Faced Just Peachy Mattes palette. This is just beautiful. I love mattes. I love the way that palette smells. This is just a beautiful palette. There are some browns. There's a couple of them. There's a burgundy shade. There's a burgundy, peaches, a tan. So, I can get a few different looks out of it. This shade right here, Sangria, is my favorite shade in the palette. Just gorgeous. I love that shade. Not a very good swatch, but anyway, I love this palette. So this palette would definitely have to be in my top 10 because I do use this palette a lot. And just one of my favorites. So it would have to be in my top 10 because it is a well-loved, well-used palette. And with those color shades, Peach I would use a lot in the spring and summer. The other tones would definitely warm it up for the winter and fall months. So definitely, to me, this is a year-round palette because, you know, spring, summer, and then bring these in, winter, fall. Definitely a year-round palette for me. The next palette I have laying here is by Urban Decay. And I went through all my Urban Decay palettes and I looked and I said, oh, okay, I'll pick this one. And then I'll put it back and I'm like, no, I'll pick this one. And I put it back and I'm like, So it was a struggle trying to decide what shade range worked best for me. So I ended up picking the Naked Cherry palette because I have pinks, I have burgundies, it has kind of a peachy shade in here. I've got a couple of cream shades in here. So to me, this palette just fit the bill because I have my berries, I have my pink shades. I can get a beautiful pink eye. I can go deeper and get a more of a burgundy eye out of this. So when I want to get pinky and romantic, I felt like this was the palette that I would need for that. So this fits the bill for number 3 in my I only keep 10, plus the packaging on that. Isn't that gorgeous? Love the packaging. Okay, number 4. I've only had this palette for about a month, but I love this palette. I have used and used and used it. It has quickly moved up into one of my favorite palettes. It is by Give Me Glow. It is the Juicy Olive palette. I have been wanting this palette for months and finally found it online. Got it, and look at that. Is that not gorgeous? Look at these shades. Just gorgeous. Just gorgeous. Look at that. Is the other one swatched? Just gorgeous. This palette is so me. It's greens. You have me. Greens. I love it. Now, I'm not much of a black user. Occasionally, I'll use it out here in the corner of my eye, or maybe just to do a little line right out here. But this palette had me at green. Love it. If you've not tried Give Me Glow eyeshadows, this is the first time I've tried them. I really like the formula. This palette, oh, grade A. Love that one. So that had to be number 4. Let me wipe that off. The next palette that I have is a small travel size palette because I needed a travel size palette if I was only keeping 10, so I only chose one travel size. It is by Natasha Denona. It is the Mini Gold palette. I love this. Once again, it's a green palette, but I've got 5 shades. I've got a brown, I've got a tan, I've got a gold shimmer, and I've got a greenish undertone shimmer, then I've got a green matte, so I can get lots of great looks out of this small little palette. So this would be great for travel. So this is the one that I chose for travel. Let me just do one color swatch out of this and let you see that. Right there it is. Gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Hadn't planned on doing any color swatches, but sometimes when I open them up and I look at them, I'm just like, I've got to touch it. I've got to touch it. Okay, next in my list, how many is that so far? That is 5. Number 6 would have to be my KK Beauty, the, which one is this? The Classic palette. I love this palette. This is in my top 5 palettes, a favorite of all time, because it is just a beautiful, beautiful palette. Look at the shades in this palette. They are stunning. You get such a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful eye when you use this palette. It is just understated and gorgeous. The yellows in here are gorgeous. You've got a peach matte, you've got a peach shimmer, you've got brown matte, you've got a tan, you've got a terracotta. Just a beautiful, well-rounded palette. So when I saw this palette, I had to have it. Let me see if I can swatch this yellow for you. I don't know if you'll be able to see it on my skin or not, but let me tell you, this yellow in here is one of my favorite yellows of all time. Right there. Gorgeous. Absolutely transfers to the eye beautifully. They blend well, and this had to be in my top 10. I was laying in bed one night. I had been working on my palettes, and I'm like, all of a sudden, I'm like, oh, I didn't put my KKW palette in that. So, I got out of bed to put the KKW palette in this pile. Okay, my next palette is by Tom Ford. It is my only Tom Ford palette. It is my really only colorful palette that I have in this, but I didn't have anything that had purples in it, and occasionally I do love a beautiful purple eye Purple happens to be my mother's favorite color. Not mine, but my mother's favorite color. So I had to pick the Lavender Lust palette by Tom Ford. This palette is gorgeous. As you can see, it has been well loved. My husband got me this a couple years ago for Christmas, and let me tell you, this palette is beautiful. If you ever get a Tom Ford palette, you'll know why they're so expensive. It's because they blend like a dream. This palette is gorgeous. I wanted one of their palettes, and it's now been discontinued, and I'm just heartbroken that I never got it. But, you know, $88 is a lot to spend on a 4-pan palette. So, love this. This had to be in my pick of 10. Now, I'm down to the last 3. I've got 3 palettes laying here. The 7th palette would have to be by Anastacio. It is the Soft Glam palette. Now, this palette is just beautiful. I've never seen anyone do an ugly look with this palette. It is just a stunning palette. You have such an array of colors. You've got pinks, you've got a sherbet color, you've got burgundies, you've got browns, you even have a black down here in the corner. So this palette works beautifully for prom, for weddings, for every day, for a nighttime out. It's just a great, well-rounded, balanced palette. And I personally think this is one of Natasha Denona's best palettes ever. I know she has had palettes before this, palettes after this, but if I go to pick one of my favorite Natasha Denona palettes, this is definitely top 2, at least, top 2. So I love this palette, so this had to be in my top 10 because I can go to this palette and get great looks. And, you know, if it had a green in it, I could probably use this palette by itself, but it's missing a green. My next palette is new to my collection, but my niece had got me the dupe for it for Christmas. And I'm going to do a video with the dupe comparing it to this, but this is a palette that I have been wanting since I saw it come out. I've seen bad reviews on it. I've seen good reviews on it. It's just what I have on my eyes today. Of course, I took a little nap, so my eyes really might not match so well because I laid on the pillow and they got kind of messed up because I've had a headache all day. But this is, I got it half price, the Natasha Denona Safari palette. I never thought I would own a Natasha Denona, one of the large palettes, because I will not pay $129 for a palette. So I got this half price off the Natasha Denona website, and I love it. I absolutely love this palette. I love the dupe too, but when I found this one for half price, I knew I had to get it because I love the dupe so much. Mel Thompson gave this a really bad review. She did not like it, but I've seen other people who loved this palette. And so far, from what I've used out of it, I've used the pinks, I've used the greens, I've used the tan shade down here. I love it. So what may work for me might not work for you, and what might work for you might not work for me. So just because you see a bad review on something, if you get to the store and if you're able to swatch it, check it out, it might work for you. So loving on this Natasha Denona. It is an all matte palette, and cannot believe that I found it half price. I know it's a limited edition, and I guess they're just trying to sell out of the last of the quantity, but I'm so glad that I got my hands on this. This is probably going to be one of my most coveted palettes because I probably will never own another large Natasha Denona palette, so bury me with this if Erica doesn't get it first. So, and last but not least, I saved this one because I knew this would be a highly controversial palette. But for me, this is a palette that I go into a lot in the wintertime. I've actually had 2 dupes of this palette because I like it so much that I bought the dupes before I bought it because I heard so much negative hype on this palette. That being said, I love it. I still got Bella hair up the nose, so I'm sorry. But I love this palette. And it is the Anastacio Subculture palette. I know this is going to be, everybody's going to be like, I cannot believe she picked that palette. But for me, this palette is a Suzy Q and a glass of milk. It is just like that. I love the mustard yellows. I love the green up there. I love the teal color. I love that burgundy. I love to pair, use this tan shade right here with that mustard yellow and that burgundy, or switch it out for that teal. It is just such a beautiful, beautiful eye. just blow it out, and it's beautiful. This palette is gorgeous. I love to use this peach with that green and that right there. Just almost what I have on today. Just a beautiful palette. This works for me. This is such a well-rounded palette for me because it has a green, it has a burgundy, it has a yellow, it has a peach. They reformulated this palette, I think, at the end of the run of it, or somewhere along the line they reformulated it, because I obviously got a good palette, because I don't have any problem with this. Yes, it's powdery. Yes, it takes a little work to blend, but not like everybody said. And everybody says, oh, you know, you can hit pan the first time you use it. Well, I have used and used and used this palette, and there is pan nowhere. This palette is just, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Like I said, it's got a green in it, which has me. It's got the peach, the yellow, the burgundy. This palette is it. I love it. So those are my top 10 palettes. If I could only keep 10, it's the Subculture palette, the Safari palette, the Soft Glam palette, the KKW Classic palette. They're stuck together. The Gimme Go Glow Juicy palette, or Juicy Olive palette, the Too Faced Just Peachy Mattes palette, the Urban Decay Beautiful Naked Cherry palette, the Tom Ford Lavender Lust palette, the Natasha Denona Mini Gold palette, great for travel, and the Marc Jacobs Lolita palette. Those are my top 10. What are your top 10? Put them down below and let me know. I have probably watched at least 50 of these videos. There are differing people who say this person started this video and this person started this video. So I'm not going to list who started this video because I'm not sure who started this video. All I know is I think it's a great video tag and I love it. So these are my top 10. List your top 10 down below and we'll see if we've got any alike, what you've got that I may think, hey, maybe I need to take one of mine out and add that to my top 10. Anyway, I think this is a great tag. I think we should do it about every 6 months. I think I've done something like this before in the past, but I think maybe it was like my top 10 favorite. But anyway, these are the top 10 that I would keep. Not necessarily my favorites, because there's a couple in there that are not my favorite. There's a couple that I have here in my makeup situation that I think are more favorite than those, but these give me a more rounded makeup selection if I've only got 10 palettes and need to choose a purple, if I need to choose a brown, if I need to choose a pink. So this gives me a more rounded selection. So anyway, if you've not already subscribed to my channel, please subscribe, hit the notification bell so you get notified every time I upload a video. If you've not done a video like this and you have a channel, do it. It's a lot of fun. It'll get your wheels a turning and it gets you thinking about which palettes do I really like and which palettes would fulfill what I need in my lifestyle. So share the love, not the hate. There's definitely too much hate in this world. And if you like greens, definitely check out the Gimme Glow Juicy Olive palette. I love this palette. It's green, 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 and that is so me, me, me. So let me see if I can get up gracefully and turn my camera off, because all of y'all know, two broke legs, mending and healing. I'm not very graceful. Obviously, I wasn't very graceful the day I fell and broke my legs either. So, anyway, so let me get up and you all stay safe during this COVID situation. Scary times out there.